Hello everyone, welcome to CryptoPi. In today's video, I want to talk about the recent rally by Ethereum and to figure out whether it is a bull run or a bear trap. Let's first start with the Ethereum dominance. We discussed about Ethereum dominance hitting its all-time low on April 21st, and this was something quite significant because it definitely crossed one of its previous all-time low, and at this point it would have been quite difficult situation for Ethereum holders that dominance is going down, which kind of corresponds to price also going down. But since then we have seen that Ethereum dominance has made a huge comeback or a huge reversal, and it did break 3 order blocks. What I mean by that is that this one was the first order block, then this one I would suggest as the second order block, and lastly the third order block, which would be here. Now, for people who are not aware of the term order block, in very simple terms, I can say that if it is a bearish order block, that is the green candle which is formed before the downtrend has happened. So we have 3 downtrends which happened here. One was over there, after this candle, and lastly after this candle. In this reversal, in the first huge candle which happened on 5th of May, Ethereum passed on the first broke out of the first order block, and then it retested it. In some sense, it gave more confidence that all right, Ethereum has now the capacity to make the bull run or start its bull cycle after a bear market of almost 3 years, which began in June, July, around June, 12th of June 2023, and the bear market of Ethereum went up until April 2025, so almost 3 years, or almost 2 years, if I'm not wrong. And now that it has Ethereum dominance has broke through 3 order blocks, what we want to see here is whether it is sustainable or not, or rather seeing that whether it is already the end, or will we see some further highs in Ethereum's price. Now, to look at Ethereum's price in USDT pair makes not much sense, because at the end of the day, Ethereum, how strong Ethereum is with respect to Bitcoin matters the most. Ethereum in USDT pair might go above its all-time high, but at that same time, Bitcoin is making gains much faster than Ethereum. Then Ethereum is still bleeding in comparison to its Bitcoin evaluation. This chart, which is of Ethereum in its Bitcoin evaluation, shows us it's very similar to Bitcoin Ethereum dominance, but here there are few things to keep in mind. Though it did break these 3 order blocks here, which is very similar here, and this one, what we face now is another order block, which would be this one, and after that another bearish order block, which is this one. So this in some sense is a very strong resistance level for Ethereum. For Ethereum to pass through these order blocks and reach to one of the major order blocks from where the huge downtrend began, to me it seems that we would require some sense of quantitative easing. We have seen in the past that whenever altcoin season happened, or Ethereum went on a crazy bull run, it was always after a quantitative easing has happened. And up until right now, we do not see any sign of quantitative easing happening. Of course, we cannot know when it will happen because that depends upon factors of interest rate, inflation, unemployment rate, and basically Fed decides when we will have quantitative easing. So what can we do right now? For me, if the Ethereum evaluation in Bitcoin pair crosses above 0.40, 0.040, not 0.40, but yeah, if it crosses above this one, I would start taking some profit and wait for its pullback or getting it tested at one of the lower bullish order block. What is bullish order block is this one. If this one, I would put it as a bullish order block, maybe make it as a green, and this one also green. And here is another bullish order block over here. So what I'm expecting, or well, I would not say expecting, but let's say what I'm hoping here is that if price reaches to this particular line, which is at the level of 0.04, if it goes slightly above or even nearby, I would take partial profits on my position, wait for a retracement to mitigate one of the lower bullish order blocks, and if it survives at this level, if it maintains the support on this order block, then I would enter a position here. Of course, I would enter position here, keeping in mind the position size calculation. This tool is free to use. You can define what is the trading amount. It can be in dollars, Ethereum, Bitcoin, define the risk percentage, and what will be the stop loss. And it will tell you what is the risk amount and what is the position size. Going back to the charts, so if I put a long position over here, let's say price comes until this point, and I would like to keep my stop loss somewhere here, targeting at this level, which is a risk to reward of 4.6. And another analysis which can be done is on this website, where I can put my risk to reward, let's say 4.5. So I would need a minimum win rate of 18% if I'm following this order block strategy. It definitely depends upon other factors, when the BTC hits its all-time high, or when the cycle top of BTC is already there and we start to see reversal in Bitcoin, and a new bear market begins for the next cycle, which usually lasts for Bitcoin. It usually lasts for 1 year, but for every other altcoin, it lasts for almost 3 years, 2.5 to 3 years, or something like that. Right, so that's my thought, at least for what would happen in the case of the current rally. There are two more topics, actually. Well, not topics, but there are two more things which I would like to show it to you about how much concern should we be about this rally in Ethereum. So first one is it's the Ethereum short-term bubble risk. I'm looking at this on Into the Cryptoverse web app, and here, looking at the historical heat maps. So whenever we are in the orange territory, we are in a super risky zone, which in some way implies that we are getting into overbought territory. And when we are in a red zone, we are already in an extremely overbought territory. But we have to keep in mind that it can stay in extremely overbought territory for a very long time. And this usually happens when there is quantitative easing. At every other point when we had a quite nice run in Ethereum, we always saw reversal after orange zone was hit, or after the risky zone was hit. One more metric which we can look at it also on the same website, same app, is the risk level. Currently, Ethereum is at 0.697 risk level. And if we look at the percentage where Ethereum stayed in between 0.6 and 0.7 risk level, it was at 22, it was about 22.12%. So that basically shows that most of the time, whenever there is a crazy run of Ethereum in its price, it more often than not just reverses and goes back to its bear market or downwards rally. So now, for me, what is important here is if the key risk level goes to 0.8, 0. something 85, 0.85, then we are somewhere in this zone, which means that it had stayed only for 4% of the time since its history, since 2020, 2015 or something. And to me that suggests that okay, I have to start taking profit, get out of my position, and wait for a reversal or some cool down in the price action, and then enter the price again. If Ethereum hits to this level, or it crosses this particular level, that would suggest to me that it's time for Ethereum to cool down, and for me, I have to take profit and wait for some kind of confirmation that rally is still not over. If we look at the USDT pair, just for the sake of completeness, we are very close to its all-time high. The all-time high for Ethereum was somewhere at 4,868, and we reached the all-time high last week, very close to all-time high, to 4,788. To me, it seems like we will definitely cross or make new all-time highs. But after all-time high has been crossed, we must see some form of pullback. So once it has crossed up, it has to retest some of the lower levels before it goes slightly higher. By the time it reaches the all-time high, it seems like the Bitcoin would have reached its cycle top, and there will be reversal, and we might not see Ethereum going much higher, in the sense much higher as a 15,000, 20,000, which a lot of people are just throwing out numbers. And if I look at Ethereum and Bitcoin pair, the all-time high is way too far away. It's less likely that Ethereum would again be able to reach to 0.08 level, because if we see historically, Ethereum has been, all right, let's keep it here. Ethereum has been making lower lows on its highs at every cycle. So it has not been able to cross the previous cycle's all-time high, and most likely this will be the point where we might see it, or it might end somewhere here as well. Yeah, but it is still a quite a good progress, I must say. It has already gained in just 2 months, 3 months period almost 100% in its Bitcoin pair, and now it's more of wait and watch how far Ethereum takes itself before Bitcoin has reached its cycle high. If you like this content, then do hit the subscribe button, and I would be happy to read some comments on your thoughts where Ethereum would end up. That's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.